Skylanders, so today we're going to be checking out the brand new resurrection upgrades for some of our favorite characters in the entire game. Confident on World Round 3, at least in my opinion, is one of my favorite banners because all three designs are just absolute gas. No bias aside because I am an Aaroniero fan, but I think these are some of the best that we did get in the entire Cornfield lineup. Especially Stark, who I consider to be almost perfect. Like the two Hogakus in the middle is perfection. And again, I always like to talk about when we can. Zapo's, if you know where his Hollow is, and you see it there as his tail, it's very much implying something. If you know, you know. With that said, though, for today's video, we're going to be taking them into some quests, just talk about them, you know, because I was actively playing the game when these characters first came out, and just see how they play now when they do actually resurrect. Keep in mind, though, their resurrections aren't really, like, super amazing. They aren't going to play entirely different, but they are going to play a ton better if you do want to have fun with some old, really cool units. In this case, first up, let's look at Cornfield Stark. In this case, I do have him max transcended, and the best part about that is that his soul trait is actually really good. One of the best soul traits in the entire technique attribute, up there with 1000-year Blood War Uru. And the reason for that is because he is given 12% strong attack recharge with the addition of 20% strong attack damage when at full stamina. The best part about soul traits like this is that it is a different multiplier when compared to just simple strong attack damage and or full stamina damage. And in a game right now where a lot of these characters are coming out of like very high berserker values, it's always good to increase something that the character doesn't have base in. Like, for example, full stamina, and in this case, strong attack damage when at full stamina. So this is a really good soul trait that I would use on every technique character going forward to the foreseeable future, like, for example, the new 9th anniversary Grammy, and I'm very happy to have him max transcended for that purpose alone. If you don't, and you have him special move level 3, well, now you can take him into the special move trial quest and get him max transcended. With that said, though, when it comes to the way this character did obviously get upgraded, he did pick up Guard Break. That now, for the most part, at least when it comes to 1000-year Blood War and Cornfield resurrections that do get special treatment, this seems to be the norm now, which is great. But he did pick up Guard Break. He did get 20% more damage at full stamina. Alongside that, he did get a Berserker value, a 40% Berserker value because he didn't have that built in, which obviously is good. And then he also did get 30% more damage to burning enemies. So he got quite a big damage increase. If we combine all the damage increases together, 20% more strong attack damage at full stamina, plus the 40% Berserker, plus the 20% more full stamina damage, that right there in of itself is already 80% more Berserker for the most part. Let's just keep it simple. Strong attack damage, and then he also does get 30% more damage to burning enemies. So overall, if everything lines up, he's at full stamina, he is inflicting damage to a burning enemy, he has a 110% damage increase, at least on his strong attack damage, which is going to be quite noticeable. And it's also worth mentioning, remember, Guard Break, right? Since he doesn't now need to break guard, that's also technically more damage into this character. His resurrection isn't perfect. You really do want characters like this to have, you know, more Berserker preferably, and also most importantly, an SP boost. That didn't happen, but the main thing that most people want with characters like this is good soul traits, and at the very least he is exactly that, and now a bit more enjoyable when he does resurrect. So, of course, with that, the way we are going to build him real quick is by using the standard Espada build that I like to put on my characters. And then for links, I'll give him as much SP as possible, like this, for example, a lot of full stamina, a lot of strong attack damage, but instead, actually, let's make sure to throw in the Uru link here in exchange for strong attack damage, and that way we're getting quite a good damage increase. With that said, though, let's jump into single-player inheritance trials, because I don't think he's good enough to be taken into to Carb, let's be honest. Especially when he doesn't have Killer. If he did have Killer, maybe it wouldn't be too bad. But honestly, his character has great visuals. He was one of the smoothest and best characters to play with when this character did come out around 4 or 5 years ago. And it's something a lot of people did want, because Stark is also a very cool character that didn't really get the best treatment in this game. We haven't had a good Stark since basically this one, right? I mean, the very first Stark that we did get, of course, was one of the better characters in the entire game. But he quickly fell off because 6-star characters existed. Unfortunately, we teleport all the way up here. And that's now meant we lost a bit of full stamina, but we'll do a second run. But yeah, Stark hasn't had the best luck in terms of characters. Like, I don't remember the last good Stark besides this one. Because now at this point, all the Starks that we do get are just mid-months. And mid-month characters can be good, but he kind of came out before mid-month characters got better. And even then, to be fair, if he was a mid-month and we wanted him to be, like, actually good, likely he has to be a farmer. But honestly, very smooth gameplay, I will be honest. And even the idea of having a gun on his shoes is actually really sick too. Which he obviously does in his Nad string, right? Like, if we go here, I think it's the third hit. Yeah, the third hit, he just turns around and shoots with his boots. That's so sick. Honestly, again, one of the coolest designs in the entire game. And then, of course, that takes it into the Zopo.
行くぜ。
レボルベルロスロボス。逃げられると思うなよ。
Absolute gas. Now, I will be honest, I don't know how rights work, but I really feel like Caleb should be able to remake these characters, right? Surely, because so far, at least from what we have seen, the only time licensing has been an issue was with Thousand Year Blood War a few years ago, right? Because if you don't know, Thousand Year Blood War kind of disappeared for a while, then it came back, and now it's more back than ever because now we have anime characters, right? We're getting Thousand Year Blood War every month. A few years ago, that was the pipe dream. When it came to Calm for Your World, even though it is technically under a different license because it is a novel, these are still original characters. These are Brave Soul originals, so like they should be able to get remade even outside of the Calm Field license. But even then, we've never had issues with Calm Field characters, like we have seen with movie characters and also Thousand Year Blood War. So I really feel like I should remake these characters. I mean, like, it's right there. It's right there, right? I know a lot of people would love to get some original characters once more in this game, even if they are remakes. Like, I know a lot of people are going to look forward to a 5th Annie Ichigo, 5th Anniversary Byakuya, 6th Annie Aizen remix in the future. And I feel like Brave Souls is at its best when we have Thousand Year Blood War going on with something in between. Because that's what we used to saw back in the old days, right? We had Thousand Year Blood War, and then in between there we had movies, and then we had in between that Calm for Your World, then Safui. It's nice to get two different things instead of just focused on one thing. Having other stuff, other cool stuff sprinkled in between other cool stuff, overall is a lot more exciting. And I feel like Caleb are just wasting Calm for Your World, these Espadas, because especially right now as well, we spoke about it a few times, Espada characters besides Grimmjow and Neliel, they aren't going to get any like super omega broken characters unless they get seasonal treatment for end of month. A lot of these Espadas that don't do anything in Thousand Year Blood War, their only time to get like a really good character is basically seasonal. So I really feel like Caleb should go back, start remaking some Calmfield characters, Tokinata for example, but really just give us some remakes of these Espadas. That'd be so cool. And I think some of the cooler parts too, like we saw with the remake of Quincy Ichigo, 3rd Annie Okura, and what we are going to see with 5th Annie remakes when they eventually do happen, is getting this original form that we know and have been accustomed to over the last couple or so years, and seeing them do a different, like, special move on the Zopo. It kind of, like, adds more lore to these characters, which I think is really cool. After that, though, let's have a look at Zairopero. So in this case, for his soul trait, he did get recharge and also damage inflicted at low stamina, which, let's be honest, isn't really the best link right now. I can count on my hand, a single hand, how many times I've done a low stamina damage build, unironically, and I've never done it. I've never done it. The only time I ever actually did low stamina was for a normal attack damage build in epic raid content, and that was really about it. Nowadays, though, you don't do that, and low stamina has always just been the unfortunate soul trait. At least when compared to full stun damage, for example. The ultimate reason for that is because we need a way to get at low stamina without wasting time taking damage. That's ultimately been the biggest problem, because full stamina, you're ready to go right from the start. Low stamina though, I have to sit there for like 10-20 seconds, wasting time to get at low stamina. Especially, God forbid, you give your character level 10 stamina, then you're going to be there even longer. So we really do need ways for characters to start the quest at low stamina, or have a mechanic where every time a character uses a strong attack, they lose stamina. That's the only way, honestly, we can actually work with low stamina. Speaking of low stamina though, that's exactly what this character wants to do. And that's the way he does get his damage output, because as you can see here, he did get an extra 50% damage increase on low stamina. So when he's at low stamina, he has 74%. And what we actually can do with this character here is let's give him a low stamina here, and then I like to give my character the long stride. I could give him SP, that might be a bit more beneficial, but I don't like playing with characters that don't have long strides. Now, to go with the low stamina, he does have a Soul Bomb revive, and he also does have last day survival. So in the potential chance you are trying to get low stamina and you do get maybe one hit, you get defeated, you will then revive, no worries, and stay at low stamina. He also does pick up guard break, again, like Stark, and that's going to give him that extra damage increase, because now no longer doesn't need to break guard. He also did get a 50% strong attack damage increase on his Berserker, so he got quite the noticeable damage increase. It's just unfortunate that he has to be that at low stamina. But in terms of damage increase here, I think he got the best one, and he actually might play the best, assuming you are at full stamina. So let's actually go ahead and build him like that, right? So in this case, we're going to give him the standard Aronka build, the Tea Cup, the Fortification Pill, and also a Sparta Chair. And then I don't have a build set up for low stamina, but mine does have access to a lot of low stamina damage soul traits. And I believe now this character is the 4th one. So we can actually go with a full-on low stamina damage build with these 3 right here. There we go. Which is kind of cool looking at because I've never actually done this. So overall, what is our low stamina damage looking like? 187%. That is kind of crazy. With that said, though, let's see how this does go. So first up, let's use that beam. Actually, hold on. We actually need to get our low stamina first and foremost. This is what I mean. Like how long we have to wait. Now, to be fair, I could have actually killed this enemy and let multiple enemies hit me, but this is just an example of why low stamina damage is kind of bad. It's kind of bad. There we go. Now we got the 180%. Let's use our SA2, which is a vortex attack. And it looks like we're doing good damage, right? Yeah, we're not doing too bad. His SA3 doesn't have the best range, despite him giving Havoc. And by the way, it's quite noteworthy. These characters have Havoc base. Not Aaroniero, though. We'll talk about that when we get to him. But this was the banner that kind of brought back Havoc. For those that didn't know. And again, we kind of... Luckily, we did not mess up there. But that's also a problem, too, with low stamina, is that you can end up picking a healing orb. And that could actually ruin your whole builds. Now, the SA2 has some very bad, like, back range distance to it. And it comes out very slow. So that's why he was always, like, not the best character. Or at least he was a very good one. Like, that SA1 animation of the tail being the beam is actually really cool. And visually, the character looks cool, too. But that SA2 is quite mediocre. Even back when he came out. That's what ultimately held him back all those years ago. With that said, though, let's go ahead and use the Soul Bomb. Absolutely crazy how Caleb got that in-game, by the way. Again, the secret meaning behind it is crazy. And I think they even censor it, right? He says Fawny Colors, I think, in the Soul Bomb. But I'm pretty sure, in terms of English subtitles, they do not call it that, right? Yeah, he does not say La Vida Lujuriosa. If I pronounced that right, I don't think I did. So it's kind of funny, too. They do actually censor it a tad bit when it comes to his Soul Bomb because it's quite out there. It's quite out there. Now, again, I would love to see what he has to do in a new character remake and what other weird abomination Soul Bomb he could potentially have. Let's try that again, though. This time, though, let's get hit by everyone. This is what's it's gonna more so be like when you're trying to get to low stamina. And even then, I think, like, when there's a bunch of them trying to hit you, like, they can easily miss you. Come on, one more hit. So even like that, it still takes so long to get back up to, or to get to low stamina, right? And always going to be the problem with this particular build. I never actually realized how he has, like, the aura, the blue and purple, and then, like, leaves a poison field behind. That's actually really cool. But yeah, ultimately, for those that don't know, the thing that kind of held this character back, besides the strong attack kit, but, you know, back in the early days, oh, okay, that kind of would have been nice, but didn't need to take any damage there. He was a mind super killer, and that's not that good, especially when Hikone existed. He came out in the previous round 1 of Conflict Worlds. And when this era of Braces, where every character had the exact same damage output, the only difference was the strong attacks. If a character had one band strong attack, it was you were basically dead on arrival. And not like he was a bad character, but for the most part, there was never a reason to use this character over Hikone, because Hikone just had more damage because he had better strong attacks. And that was the bad thing about Braces back in the day, actually, to be fair. But then again, in his defense, he did actually have Havoc. Hikone didn't. Hikone didn't. But his range, even with Havoc, wasn't really the greatest. But yeah, Zopo's still a cool character. I like this form. Not my favorite Conflict design. My least favorite in this entire batch, but still a cool character nonetheless. And like I mentioned, I would love for this character to get remakes. And then lastly, my boy. My boy. I love this form. And on that topic, I love all the concept art for this character. If you haven't already seen it on your screen right now, Aaroniero is one of those coolest Spartans that they really could have done anything. And those concept arts are proof of that. Like, they had a lot of fun designing the character, and they generally could have went down either route. And I think, honestly, I won't even mind these alternative concept arts in-game. That's never going to happen, but all of them stand out in their own, and I honestly wouldn't have minded. Honestly, one of my favorite parts about this character, by the way, is the voice acting. Like, that summon quote has so much aura to it, and at the same time, it's really cool to hear the voice actors outside of their test tube, right? So they actually have that non-robotic tone to it. Now, in regards to Aaroniero's sword trait, it's kind of like in the middle ground. Like, Zopo's sword trait, I think, is kind of useless. I don't ever rock low stamina damage builds. Stark's is really good, and Aaroniero's is kind of like, again, in the middle. It's recharge and damage to weakened enemies plus 20%. To most people, and I'd say like 99% of the community, this is kind of useless. Because why would you want to rock this when you can just use 20% strong attack damage? But remember, this is a different multiplier, so these soul traits do have a place in the game, more so in Guild Quest content when you are using a character that has a very high chance to inflict weakening. In this case, Kenpachi. 9th anniversary Kenpachi, so it can be a decent soul trait for him, especially because he already has like 100% Berserker. He honestly doesn't need any more strong attack damage. So instead of giving him 16% strong attack damage, maybe you want to give him damage to weakened enemies, just to give him overall more damage output. And when he is up against Aaroniero, so he has that increased chance, and very likely he is going to inflict the stat element in just one hit. Alongside that though, Aaroniero does pick up Guard Break and also Havoc. That's kind of really cool to see. I've not tested it out, but that was the unfortunate part about this character, where Stark and also Zopo got Havoc, Aaroniero didn't, and he would have greatly benefited from it, especially with that SA1 and 3 that he did have. Alongside that, he does get a 30% strong attack damage increase, and then also 50% actually more damage to weakened enemies. It's 30%, but remember he does have the 20% here. So my problem with this resurrection is that it's tied behind inflicting stat augments. Like, you really want to inflict weakening, and he has no increased chance to do so. Then again, I see why he doesn't. He could only have a certain number of skills here. He had to get Berserker, and I guess he could have picked up increased chance instead of more damage, but you know, both would have been good together. One or the other, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, right? But remember, weakening itself does actually increase the damage output by 50%. So when we do apply weakening, we do 100% more damage, and then technically overall 130% more damage. So in terms of best case scenario, his damage output is very similar to Stark and also Zopo, but that's only when you take into account that he can apply weakening, and weakening itself gives you 50% more damage. Stark and also Zopo just got overall more Berserker, more damage and multipliers when compared to Adon. That's why I didn't really like much about his resurrection. But I guess compared to the other characters, he might have the biggest difference because he never had Havoc built into the character, so that added range might go a long way. Now, to a certain extent, Aaroniero might not need that increased chance because that SA2 obviously does hit quite a lot of times, which, to be fair, is fair. But that SA2, I actually do not dislike it, but I don't love it. I don't love it. He was the first character to have it. I actually like the visuals on that SA2, we will see in just a minute. But the reason why it isn't the best strong attack in the entire game is just because it has like a massive wind up. Like, you have to suck in and then push out. I will say though, that SA1 feels good. The range now looks really cool too. Again, I love this character. I absolutely love this character. But the SA2 doesn't have the best invincibility frames for the second half. So there is a chance you actually could get hit by it. And that makes it very awkward when it comes to co-op content, right? When I use this character quite a bit. But it does hit quite a bit at times. And I remember people used to use this character at level 1 just for the idea of inflicting stat augments and building up combo in the very old guild quests. And I forgot, we're up against human, so we have to play a tad bit safe here. I didn't get the character long shot, so we're definitely going to do that in our next run. But again, I think design-wise, this character looks so good. Like, Aaroniero resurrection is way too big to be playable. And in a way, this is kind of like a mini resurrection. Like, we have the body being at the top. We have a bunch of tentacles at the bottom. I think it looks really cool. And the color scheme is great too. And that's been like the main channel's color scheme for the most part, right? Like that pinkish color that he has going for him. I love it. And that's why it's been like on my channel for a while now. It's a cool soul bomb. I think the voice actor is just like the best part about this character, I will be honest. Like, even if you aren't an Aaroniero fan, surely you have to love this character. Design-wise, like, it's so different when compared to the Spars, and you can tell they had a lot of fun designing this character. But let's do one last run to wrap it up. This time, though, I have given the character long stride. And that's going to make a tad bit of a big difference. Let's go here, SA2. The SA2 does now have a lot of, again, like, suck-in range, right? And I guess that does make it a tad bit better, too. And we go, a little nat string right there. That's SA1. Can we suck him in from there? We cannot, but we actually hit them at the end too. Now this SA2 with weakening actually works out quite well. I think Rukia was like one of the characters that came out with this SA2 like a year later. And she's a better character because, at least for co-op content, she can inflict paralysis. So like, it can stop the enemies from attacking you. Momo had the same SA2 a few months later, I believe. But she had Lacerate, and that was actually terrible for her. But we can go in here, use the SA2, and then squash Tsukishima. Kind of like a mini soul bomb. I like it. But yeah, I think this form looks great. Like the other Confield Spartans, I would love to summon for them in 2024. I think a lot of people would too. I feel like we're wasting these character designs by not remaking them. Of course, 1,000 year blood is high. That's what we all want to see, especially characters that aren't in the game just yet. But having a Confield banner every now and then in between honestly wouldn't be a bad idea. And I don't think it would be a bad thing for Caleb. So, yeah, just wanted to make a short video on the new resurrections. Briefly going over their newfound upgrades and also reminiscing a bit on the past with these really cool forms. This, though, is currently round 3 of Confield Worlds, so that means round 4 is up next, potentially next month. And that therefore means Baragon, Stark, and also most importantly, Tokinada are going to receive their upgrades, and there's definitely a lot of excitement and hype on Tokinada. Because I unironically still use him in my GuildQuest team, so I would hope he picks up a good resurrection. But overall, I'm just happy that Confield characters are finally getting resurrected. They've been way too delayed at this point. Like, these characters should have got resurrected a while ago. So it's nice to finally see them get done, even if their resurrections aren't really the greatest. If anything, though, because this batch did get resurrected now, it does mean we are going to get a second batch at the end of the month. Likely premium characters, so more orbs if you do own the characters. Like we discussed in this video, though, whether these characters get remakes in the future is unknown, but I think a lot of people would be open for it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. See you guys next time. Take care, and peace.